Dumelang mangwanani mwalelepo vukenjani xexas vana Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything happening in the SADC region and beyond. It is Monday, the 20th of December, and as usual, you're joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raiza Kweo.
Happy Monday, everyone. Today is a Blue Christmas Day. This day is proudly sponsored by Vivo, honoring our men and women in uniform that strive to keep us safe. Whilst the nation takes a break and celebrates their Christmas with their friends and family, there is a workforce that strives to ensure that the wheels of Namibia keep turning. This is due to the dedication and sacrifice of Namibia's men and women in blue who head off to work during the festive season and on Christmas Day to protect, serve, and deliver to their communities. We'll be right back after this short break.
With Neo Paints. Simply buy Neo Paints products from the selected range and stand a chance to get one of 12 mystery buckets filled with gold paint. All 12 winners will each get 3 extra paint buckets equal to their purchase. One to replace the gold paint, the second to use on your project, and the third to give to a charity of their choice. One winner can score another 10,000 Namibian dollars by showing us your creative use of the golden paint. The best project wins the cash. Offer is valid from 27 September to 18 December at your favorite hardware store nationwide. Visit us at neopaints.com for more competition details and follow us on Facebook for weekly competition updates. Neo Paints, a coat of excellence.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. In our top stories, UN Human Rights Council to investigate war crimes in Ethiopia. The UN Human Rights Council on Friday voted in favor of establishing a panel of experts to report on rights violation during the year-old war in Ethiopia, despite protestation from Addis Ababa. Ethiopia lashed out at what is called a neo-colonialist mentality following the EU-led effort to have special session of the UN Human Rights Council called to address war crimes that may have occurred in Ethiopia. The resolution was brought forward to a vote by the EU. The resolution passed with 21 states in favor, 15 opposed, including Russia and China, and 11 in absentia. Nada al-Nashif, the UN Deputy High Commissioner for Human Rights, told the session on Friday, "Our office continued to receive credible reports of severe human rights violation and abuses by all parties. The humanitarian impact of the conflict is increasingly dramatic," Al-Nashir added. The vote took place at the 47-member forum in Geneva, Switzerland. Several African nations such as Senegal and Sudan abstained from the vote, one indication of their concern regarding abuses as they did not vote.
Officials say insurgency in northern Mozambique is spreading, with violence by armed groups spreading beyond Mozambique's northernmost province of Cabo Delgado into neighboring Niassa province. President Filipe Nyusi on Thursday cautioned against panic. Insurgents linked to the Islamic State have staged attacks since October 2017 in Cabo Delgado, a coastal province rich in natural gas reserves and host to an estimated $60 billion worth of international investment in gas projects. The violence has left at least 3,100 dead. Mozambican authorities have been close-mouthed as the insurgency began to launch attacks in Niassa province last month. But in recent days, Both Nyusi and Mozambique's top police official acknowledged the insurgency had breached Cabo Delgado's borders perhaps months earlier. The U.S. State Department's newly released Country Report on Terrorism 2020 said that in that year in Mozambique, an estimated 1,500 deaths were due to ISIS Mozambique attacks. The report also noted challenges with border security in northern Mozambique. The SADC military support mission in Mozambique is scheduled to end in January. Researcher Borges Namire said he believed the SADC forces would be renewed, but if they withdraw, he told VOA Portuguese, it will be a total failure for the entire region. I think that what the region should do is mobilize more funds to maintain its mission in Mozambique.
The Democratic Republic of Congo declares end to latest Ebola outbreak. The Democratic Republic of Congo said on Thursday that the latest Ebola outbreak was officially over as the country marked 42 days with no new cases. The start of the latest outbreak was confirmed on the 8th of October after a 3-year-old boy died in Beni, North Kivu province in eastern DR Congo. Authorities then confirmed 8 more cases and 3 probable ones, as well as 9 deaths in the area over the next 2 months, with more than a half of the cases involving children under the age of 5. Health Minister Jean-Jacques Bungani said the outbreak was detected late because of the strike by healthcare workers in the area. On Thursday, he declared the outbreak officially over. The World Health Organization confirmed that no new cases have been reported at the end of the 42-day countdown to incubation periods after the last confirmed case emerged. After 42 days of reinforced surveillance without new confirmed case, I am happy to declare the end of the 13th epidemic of the Ebola virus disease in North Kivu, Bugani said in Kinshasa. The WHO says that since the official declaration of the 13th outbreak in North Kivu, intense work has been carried out by infection control team to limit the spread of Ebola.
In South Africa, security on high alert after Zuma parole revoked. South Africa's security agencies are on high alert to quash any possible disturbances following the revoking of former President Jacob Zuma's medical parole. The Gauteng High Court on Wednesday said Mr. Zuma was unlawfully granted parole and should be returned to jail. The former head of state was in July jailed for 15 months for contempt of court, but he served just 2 months of his sentence at Escort Correctional Center in KwaZulu-Natal. His initial imprisonment sparked violent protests in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. Incarcerating the 79-year-old former president again has stoked fears of another wave of disturbances. The members of the South African police, including all the law enforcement agencies as a country, have learned their lessons last July, and the experiences gained from there will be used and utilized to make sure that South Africa remains safe, stable and calm, and all people in South Africa protected together with their properties, Police Minister Bheki Cele said on Thursday.
Malawi makes COVID-19 vaccines mandatory for frontline workers. Malawi will make COVID-19 vaccine mandatory for frontline staff, including healthcare workers and journalists, Health Minister Kubize Kandodo Chipoda said on Thursday as the country grapples with a surge of new infections. Chipoda told journalists the directive aimed at public service workers would be effective from the 20th of December. Uptake of COVID-19 vaccine has not been high enough towards reaching our goal of vaccinating at least 60% of the eligible Malawans by the end of the next year. The vaccine remains our best preventative tool, she said. Accumulating data is continuing to indicate that the majority of those being admitted to our emergency treatment units or losing their lives to COVID-19 have not been vaccinated. Malawi, which reported its first cases of the new Omicron coronavirus variant last week, has seen daily COVID-19 infections soar this week. On Wednesday, it reported 318 new cases compared to less than 20 on the most On most days in recent weeks, just over 3% of its population is fully vaccinated.
DRC, Zambia, Haut-Katanga and Luapula provinces agree to strengthen border security. The provinces of Haut-Katanga in the DRC and that of Luapula in Zambia are committed to strengthening security along their common borders. This is one of the recommendations of the bilateral meeting held between the two parties in Lubumbashi and which ended last Friday, notes Radio Okapi. During 2 days of work, experts from two provinces led by their respective governors began by evaluating the measures taken during the last meeting. The objective was to identify the flaws in their execution in order to propose solutions in order to improve the security conditions along the common border. Recommendations were made to both parties, among others, the organization of mixed patrols along the common border by the security services of two countries. The two parties urged the security services of two countries to intensify joint patrol operations and to strengthen the exchange of information with a view to curbing these vices. Furthermore, the meeting resolved to use restraint and professionalism in the management of such incidents along the common border, in particular when dealing with perpetrators of illegal fishing on border waters.
Masisi appoints Commissioner of Inquiry on Constitutional Review. President Mokgweetsi Masisi has on Friday issued a Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the review of the Constitution of Botswana. He appointed 19 members to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. The terms of reference of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry shall be as follows: ascertain from the people of Botswana their views on the operation of the Constitution and in particular the strengths and weaknesses of the Constitution. Assess the adequacy of the Constitution in particular by asserting Botswana's identity, principles, aspiration and values, promoting and protecting people's rights, promoting equality, promoting national unity and democracy, articulate the concerns of the people of Botswana as regards the amendments that may be required for a review of the Constitution, to conduct inquiries and obtain information from sources that the Commission considers relevant in the execution of its mandate, to make any recommendations on the review or amendments of the Constitution on the basis of paragraph A to D above, and any other material consideration. Upon completion of its inquiry, the Commission shall submit the report with the recommendations to the President not later than the end of September 2022.
Lassa fever kills 80 in Nigeria. A total of 80 deaths have been reported across Nigeria following the spread of Lassa fever in the most populous African country so far this year.
There is outrage over the UPL plan to dump more toxic waste into Durban's sea. Barely a month after several Durban beaches were reopened to tourists and locals, the UPL farm chemical giant is hoping to dump even more poisonous pesticides into the sea in an apparent bid to save money on land-based disposal cost. Several of the city's most popular swimming beaches were closed for nearly 4 months as the safety precautions after a torrent of pesticides and other agrochemical poured into the sea in the wake of July arson attack on the UPL Chemicals warehouse in Konubia, north of Durban. The beach ban was finally lifted on the 2nd of November, but now UPL has asked for permission to dump large quantities of accumulated toxic waste into the Sea of Durban via the Southern Wastewater Treatment Works near Merebank. The new UPL toxic waste stockpile, scrubbed from the charred remains of the warehouse floor and surrounding roads, riverbeds and sugarcane fields, and has been stored for the last few months in the temporary pollution control dam close to the warehouse.
In the last of our top stories, Tanzania calls for joint actions to reverse environmental degradation of Lake Tanganyika. Tanzanian Vice President Philip Mpango on Thursday called on countries sharing Lake Tanganyika to take bold steps aimed at reversing environmental degradation facing the lake, the second oldest freshwater lake in the world. Addressing the 9th meeting of the Conference of Ministers of the Lake Tanganyika Authority in Kigoma region, Mpango said biodiversity of the lake is being lost at an alarming rate through human-induced activities such as unsustainable agricultural and fishing practices, water pollution, and deforestation. He added that the lake is estimated to have the potential to produce more than 1.5 million metric tons of fish annually, but only 580,000 metric tons are effectively harvested due to environmental degradation. Mpango said declines in fish catch have long been attributed to overfishing and weak enforcement of regulations. All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. While the human world battles
Go now.
Sweetie, we're just getting started.
1 second, babe. I'm on the phone. Yeah.
What do you think about this one, babe? Babe?
What were you saying?
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. The translocation of wildlife from Namibia with its abundance of species to game farms and parks elsewhere in Africa happens quite often. Namibia wildlife vets recently undertook a 2,000-kilometer trip to Angola to relocate the nyalas, lichus and sables on a game farm in the central part of that country. It is part of the project to reintroduce wildlife back into this game farm that was started in 2020 rather. Now, buckle up and let us join us on this trip.
Africa Good Morning remains your reliable source for decentralized African news. Keeping that in mind, let's take a trip to Zambia and have a chat with Mr. Mike Sichula. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Africa, good morning. I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing there?
We're all right as can be. I understand you guys have some rain, so lucky you. But could you give us an update on coronavirus situation in Zambia, considering that you are going through the fourth wave, or with the Omicron variant being dominant right now?
Yes, the situation is not very good because as of yesterday, the country health authorities recorded 1,036 new cases and one death in the last 24 hours, which means this is one of the highest numbers of new cases reported uh, between the time that the new variant was discovered on the 3rd of December, which has posed a lot of worries to Ministry of Health, who are saying people need to adhere to health guidelines. We still have a very big challenge in Zambia with regards to observing health guidelines. When you go through the public facilities like markets, bus stations, and many other public places, very few people who are observing the 5 golden rules of ensuring that we keep away from the pandemic, which is a very sad state of affairs. So what authorities have done is that they are trying to re-emphasize the message to shop owners, to bus drivers and taxi owners to make sure that their clients are fully protected, are fully adhering to the golden rules to ensure that the spread of the pandemic does not spread widely. Because, like I've said, the number of over 1,000 new cases in 24 hours is something that is big, and it has not happened in the last 5-6 months. As you can see from the graph there, the positivity rate now is over is becoming close to 5%, which is not good according to health authorities. In terms of the recovery rates, the country seems to be doing fine. In the last 24 hours, we recorded over 200 recoveries, which is also a good sign. But they are saying we need to do more to ensure that we are protected from the virus.
All right, we understand that fuel prices have increased and people are panicking. Please tell us more.
On Saturday, we certainly hope we can still get those updates from him during this week. But for now, let's take a trip and have a look at the weather.
was miraculous. It saved the lives of my parents and grandparents. In just a few months, nearly everybody in my country got the vaccine. I lost my mother right at the start of the pandemic. So many doctors and nurses got sick. School closed down. But then came the vaccine. You said life would return to normal. You restored our hope. And you promised you wouldn't stop there. You said you'd help other countries. You promised to share vaccines with the whole world. To make sure it ended everywhere, for everyone. But you took too long. You brought up supplies and held them back. Just in case. You let people in other countries suffer. Doctors and nurses kept getting sick. Teachers died. You let the virus carry on, going round and round and round. It changed into even more dangerous variants. Then it all came back. Again, and again, and again. Schools closed. Again. Life kept getting turned upside down. For all of us. Things could have worked out so differently. You knew that no one is safe until everyone's safe.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. We're going to cross over to Mr. Sichula. Mr. Sichula, we've got a total of 1 minute, so if you could please get into your story about the fuel prices being adjusted upwards, the Zambian female banker who's been given who's been nominated for African Female Leader of the Year, and the Zambian under-20 female team bowing out of the Costa Rica World Cup.
Thank you very much. Like I said on the fuel issue, it is against the expectations of Zambians, because when the new administration were campaigning, they did indicate that the price of fuel was going to be reduced by further. But Zambians are now shocked that barely 6 months into in power, the price of fuel has gone up by about 5 kwacha, which is close to $3. And in the Sakunda, who is the CEO for Zanaco Bank, has been nominated for the prestigious African Leader Award. She is the only Zambian and the only female who has been nominated, and she heads one of the biggest banks in the country. And her to be nominated indicates that she has exhibited courage and zeal to lead a commercial bank, which position that has been dominantly held by men. But in her position, she has demonstrated that she can do it as a woman, and it is a plus for the Zambian women. Then in football, the Zambia under-20, they couldn't progress to the next round of the 2022 Costa Rica World Cup qualifiers. They lost 1-0 in Ghana. Remember, in Zambia, the match ended 0-0. So when they went for the reverse match in Ghana, the Zambian side lost 1 goal to win. Hence, they have not progressed into the next round of the continent of the World Cup, Costa Rica, which is a very bad time for the Zambian team.
Well, we certainly wish them the best in the upcoming season. Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing us the news from Zambia.
Thank you very much. Africa, good morning.
All right, this is still Africa Good Morning. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with your economic news stories.
And what do you think about this one, babe?
Can we go now?
You're the best.
Can we go now?
Sweetie, we're just getting started.
1 second, babe. I'm on the phone. Yeah.
What do you think about this one, babe? Babe?
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. In the first of your economic news stories, Senegal's president calls on Africa to harmonize oil legislation. Africa needs harmonized oil legislation to avoid ruinous competition among its oil-producing nations as they vie for investors, Senegal's President Macky Sall told an oil conference on Thursday. Sall said that as some developed nations push for an end to investments in fossil fuels, particularly gas, African countries need to attract partners who are financially and technically reliable with clear legislation that would offer guarantees to investors and protect national interests. Sall will take over the rotating chairmanship of the African Union Continental Body in January for a year. Mauritania's oil minister Mohamed Abdel Fattah told the conference that activities had resumed at the project after most obstacles hindering progress were removed. He added discussions were underway on phase 2, which would seek peak production of up to 10 million tons annually in 3 overlapping phases.
In our next story, hydrocarbons absorb over $6 billion. The National Agency for Petroleum, Gas and Biofuels forecast that investment in bidding for the new concession from the 2021 to 2025 will reach a global volume of $6.1 billion. The process has already absorbed 42.7 million, which translates into an increase of 261% compared to the same period in 2020, when the international market suffered a strong shake due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. According to ANPG forecast, it is estimated that the volume of investment will rise to $154.5 million in 2022, an increase of 263% compared to the amounts invested in the current year, with indicators that in 2023 it will rise to close to $561.5 million. Investment capital is expected to stand at $2.1 billion in 2024, and the following year to $3.1 billion will expand.
That brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Up next, economic indicators. It was an exciting sporting weekend. To help us sort through it all, here's Ari Hohart's sports package.
Yes, a very good morning, and it's time to talk some sport. Hope you had a great sporting weekend. It's Monday morning. We look at all the results from all over the globe, and we start with soccer news from the English Premier League, and it was COVID-19 that had the biggest say over the weekend. Many games that was postponed, and let's look at some of the games that didn't take place. First, it was Everton and Leicester City that couldn't play on Saturday, and earlier also West Ham and Norwich. That game didn't take place, and we talked on Friday about the manager of Brentford that asked for the English Premier League to postpone all the games for the weekend, because Brentford had they're not the only club that's got many COVID cases, but they had 13 COVID cases between players and management. But their game against Southampton on Saturday didn't take place. Some of the games did take place, and Arsenal, they played on Saturday. They played against Leeds, and a big win for them, 4-1. They beat Leeds, and that keeps them in the top 4 after 18 games. They've got 32 league points, but leading on 44 points after 18 games is Manchester City. They beat Newcastle United by 4-1, and then both Chelsea and Liverpool dropped points yesterday. It was Liverpool that played to a 2-2 draw against Tottenham Hotspur. Exciting game, a late goal there from Son for Tottenham Hotspur to draw 2-2. So Liverpool on 41 points after 18 games, and then Chelsea, they drew with Wolves. That was a goalless draw for them, and they on 38 points after 18 games. Let's move over to some cricket news, and it's cricket in Australia, and it's the second test that's taking place at the Adelaide Oval. It's a day-night test, and the first test was won by Australia, and England on the back foot in the second test in Adelaide. It was day 4 yesterday, and it is Australia that asked them to make 468 runs to win. That was England. England need to make 468 in the second innings to win the second test. It's a tough ask for them. Day-night test, of course, in the evening under lights, so it's difficult to bat under lights at the Adelaide Oval. So the score from day 4, at the end of day 4, it was 82 for the loss of 4 wickets. That is England. Just with 5 balls to go, it was the captain Joe Root that lost his wicket, so a big wicket right at the end for Australia. So 82 for 4. England will continue batting this morning, and they still need a further 386 runs to win, so they won't get that. It's a turning wicket as well, so Nathan Lyon will probably come into play as well on day 5, so make it difficult for England to win that test. So let's move on to some boxing news, and there was a big boxing match-up that was on in the United Kingdom. That was in Manchester, and it was Derek Chisora from the United Kingdom. He boxed against Joseph Parker of New Zealand, and actually Derek Chisora, we can say, is from Zimbabwe at least, so we can claim him as a Zimbabwean, but it was a tough night for Derek Chisora, unfortunately, the 37-year-old, and it was the New Zealander, Joseph Parker, 29 years old. He won on unanimous decision over 12 rounds, but it was Joseph Parker that put Chisora down quite a few times in the fight, in the 4th round, in the 7th round, and in the 8th round. Chisora unfortunately had to hear the 8 count, but he was brave and he fought back and he made it till the end. He was pressing in the last 2 rounds, but he couldn't get close to Joseph Parker, so it was a convincing unanimous decision over 12 rounds for New Zealander Joseph Parker. So Joseph Parker now 32 wins in 30 fights, and it was the 44th fight for Chisora, but he lost unfortunately 12 fights. So not sure if he's going to continue. There's talk that he might retire. Derek Chisora, great boxer from Zimbabwe, born in Harare, now fighting under the British flag. And from boxing, we move over to some golf news. It was the PNC Golf Championship, quite a unique golf championship played in Orlando in Florida. And it is where 20 major winners can play with a family member. It was played over 36 holes. And it was the Daly's, John Daly and his son Little John Daly, that won in the end. 27 under par they ended up with, last round of 15 under par. And they were challenged right to the end by Tiger Woods and Charlie Woods. They finished with 25 under par, 2 shots back, so a great finish for Tiger and his son Charlie. They had also a round of combined total of minus 15 in the final round. The defending champions was Justin Thomas and his dad, and they finished on a 24 under par that was tied for third. And some of the other high profile or notable, as I can mention maybe, is the world #1 ladies golfer, that is Nelly Korda. She played with her father Petra, and they finished tied 12th on a 17 under par. So that's all the sports news from the weekend. I hope your team did great. It was a great, successful sporting weekend for you. And we talk again on Friday to preview the weekend's sport coming up. So have a great Monday. Have a great week. We talk again on Friday. Bye-bye.
Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m. and here are the headlines from today's top stories. UN Human Rights Council to investigate war crimes in Ethiopia. Officials say insurgency in northern Mozambique is spreading. Democratic Republic of Congo declares end to latest Ebola outbreak. South Africa, security on high alert after Zuma parole revoked. Senegal's president calls on Africa to harmonize oil legislation. English Premier League over the weekend. Those have been our stories.
We thank you very much for joining us on this edition on Africa Good Morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2cents.